Good morning. This is Matthew with Dead and Rights. I've been thinking this morning, and I wasn't necessarily planning on talking about this right now, but I'm sort of starting this video later in my drive than I usually do. I was debating on whether I wanted to do a video this morning or not. I didn't really have much to say, but a thought kept lingering in my head for the last few days, and specifically this morning. I'm looking at my son who is a few months old, and I'm reflecting on my own life. And I am in my early 30s. If I live 70, if I live to 70, I am nearly halfway through with my life on this earth. And that's a sobering fact. I hope that I get to talk more about my thoughts on life and what I would call the futility of life. But it's a sobering reality that at the point that I'm having my first child, if I live a long life, if I live a really long life, I'm a third of my way there. And what have I done for the first half or first third of my life? Now, and what if my life gets cut short? What if I don't get to see my son turn 18? What if the plan for my life is that I die at 40 or 35 or 55? You see, the reality that we don't want to face is that the end of our days are unknown to us. And even if they were known, it's still short. How fast has 30 years gone? It's gone incredibly fast. I remember things from when I was 20 or 18 or 16 like they were yesterday. And what do I have to account for the the life that I've lived? It's not much. Now I started believing, truly believing in God at the age of 19. So it's been over a decade that I have believed in God, and yet that belief is not translated into much action. I spent most of my life being a child. When I first got married, I was a child. Years into marriage, I was still acting and behaving like a child. When I was 25, I was doing things that I should have been doing when I was 16 or 17. And we as a society have gotten to this point where we are promoting and encouraging prolonged adolescence. And you, do you want to know what's happening with that? Is that young people are not being productive in their lives. And at the times when they could be the most productive, I would say is the time when they're telling you to spend all your days on video games. When you're in college, to go out partying and drinking. These are the times when you're 18 and 19 and 20, that you should already be thinking about your life. You should be thinking about, well, when am I going to have kids, and how do I do that? How do I provide for a woman and a child? How can I work hard and better myself and create habits and outcomes that are beneficial not just to myself but to other people? But we have marriage and family starting that are happening so late in life for the majority of young people nowadays, and most people don't even want these things. I don't quite understand it, but I do understand being having a prolonged adolescence. That you feel like it's preferable, and society tells you that it's preferable that you would be immature longer in life than you need to be. That it's good, that your childhood is good. We're not we're not made to be children. Our bodies grow with or without our maturity. So why is it that our bodies are maturing by 18 and 19 and 20? Our brains are fully matured at mid 20s, or if you're a woman, your early 20s. And yet we as a society don't expect that our emotional and mental maturity should age alongside our body. See, it shouldn't be the norm that people are pushing off responsibilities like marriage and family and work in favor of these modern conceptions of dating around, finding meaningless jobs, spending your lifetime in education, and getting nowhere until your mid 30s or even later. That we're not getting married until we're in our 30s. Now, I got married at 23, I believe, but I was far from the man that needed to be married at 23. My wife could testify to how much of a little boy I was at 23 years old. I was a worthless young man. I wanted kids, but I would have been incapable at the time of raising a child. And even now, I struggle. I struggle with habits of life that should be well formed. I can only hope that by the time that my son needs me to be able to show him exactly what a man looks like, that I'm able to do that. But this is the responsibility of man. You see, in the very beginning, when God made Adam and he gave him his wife, and he said, "Be fruitful and multiply and take dominion over the earth." That this is the call for man. This is the first call for man. Now, of course, it's not for every person. Marriage is not. I'm not suggesting that every person be married. There's plenty of There's plenty of examples of men and women who have lived lives not being married, but that's the exception. That's not the norm. We need to break out of this culture that tells us that it's acceptable. But even, anyways, let me finish that thought. We need to break out of this culture that tells us that it's acceptable to be children far longer than is good or necessary or right. Because again, by the time people are deciding that they want to be adults and be grown mentally and maturity wise, their lives their lives are half over. The ones who have good long lives, they're half over. And I've known many people who have prolonged their adolescence into their 40s and 50s. I see it every day. The world needs men and women. We don't need children. We teach children how to be men and women because we don't need them to be children. The church needs men desperately. And I know it's popular today to blame women for everything. That's man's problem. I'm just going to say if you're a young man and every time you hear criticism of men, you respond with, "Well, what about women? Aren't women bad too?" Then you are proving your immaturity. You're proving that you need something to learn. Because if at every point that you're criticized for something that you've done wrong, you point to what someone else has done wrong and you justify yourself, and that's a lack of accountability. Especially in the church. The church doesn't need men like that. What the church needs are men who look at themselves and say, I'm gonna hold myself to a standard. That even if the whole world doesn't hold it to me to a standard, I will hold myself to a standard because my God holds me to a standard. And I have to model my life after the man of God, Jesus Christ. And until I do that, until I commit myself to that, I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to I'm not going to moan and whine about how the world doesn't treat me fairly, because the world will never treat you fairly. It will never recognize you for who you are. It will never give you the things that you need. The world is a brutal and unforgiving place. If you're waiting on the world to fix your problems, then you have lost something in time to think that the world owes you anything, or will, even if it does owe you anything, that it would give you anything. The world is here to take. The world is here to put pressure on you, to put hardship on you that you must fight through every day. To fight through it, especially young men. Fight through the world, fight through the hardship. Look at yourself and take responsibility for your own life. Entrust it to God and hold yourself to a standard that is better than anything that the world can offer to you. That's going to be it. Make the most of life. Don't live a life that you're going to regret one day like I did. I lived many years of my life to be regretted by the time I had a child. Don't live a life that you're going to regret. Have a good day.